Former Spurs boss Mauricio Pochettino has come out and said that he would like a return to Tottenham Hotspur one day, and he has a very, very good relationship with Spurs chairman Daniel Levy. Harry Redknapp on the pressure and criticism of Ange Postecoglou. He said, "I never finished 15th. I was always around the top four. Ange Postecoglou must win the Europa League. Otherwise, he will be under severe pressure." Ian Wright has come out and said that Spurs have so much going for them, but I can't understand why they are so slack and sloppy in defence. And also, Lucas Bergvall has come out and said, "I don't think it has been a fair season." Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all keeping well. This is another edition of Tottenham News, where I'll be going through all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do that follow button and leave a review if you can. So let's start with one of the main stories from Tuesday. Former Tottenham Hotspur boss Mauricio Pochettino did a Sky interview, and he was talking about a possible return to Tottenham Hotspur. He said, "Look, when I left the club, I always remember one interview. I said that I would like to one day to return to Tottenham. What I said then, still after 6 or 5 years, I still feel in my heart that yes, I would like one day to come back." Pochettino then spoke about his relationship with Spurs chairman Daniel Levy and said he is always there and he is always going to be there. It's another thing to take a professional decision. It's true, after nearly 6 years with all that we have lived together, it was tough because all of the ups and downs and emotional things that we lived. I've always seen it difficult in football, that it doesn't affect all this type of situation in your relationship. For us, we split very well. One thing was professional, another personal, and now, like the day after we left Tottenham, we keep always a very, very good relationship. Now, a couple of reports have been published about Ange Postecoglou's future at the club. The Boot Room have just stated that Daniel Levy has met with Ange Postecoglou recently and has told him that Tottenham Hotspur Football Club expect to qualify for Europe as a minimum requirement for this season. And Ben Jacobs, journalist with Give Me Sport and TalkSport, he has stated that Tottenham Hotspur still have a desire to make it work with Ange Postecoglou at Spurs, but a review will take place at the end of the season. Now, 17 Tottenham Hotspur first-team players are currently out on international duty. The other players are training at Hotspur Way, but Ange Postecoglou has chosen to give those players a couple of days off this week to have a few days break. They are on leave from Wednesday. Now, a couple of pieces of official news released by Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Our home under-18s Premier League fixture against Fulham has been rescheduled for Tuesday, the 29th of April. Kick-off at Hotspur Way will be 11 a.m. The game had been due to take place this coming Friday, and the Spurs women have lost their last 5 matches, 4 in the Women's Super League and 1 in the FA Cup. Ella Morris has come out and said, "We must stick together and results will come." Whilst on international duty, Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Lucas Bergvall has spoken about the season. He said, "I don't think it has been a fair season, to be honest, not considering how much damage we have had. I don't know what the reason is, but we have had talks with Dejan Kulusevski about it. There have been many who have played an incredible number of minutes. It is not human, so of course it is a big factor." Former Premier League striker, now TV and radio pundit Ian Wright has come out and said there are basic mistakes that Tottenham are doing. I believe when you look at the number of games that they have lost, it is their defence. They should be working on retaining the ball, keeping the ball, and then trying to get it up to Maddison and Solanke. They have so much going for them, but I can't understand why they are so slack and so sloppy in defence. Northern Ireland have just called up 20-year-old Spurs star Jamie Donley, who is currently on loan at Leyton Orient. He has joined training ahead of Friday's friendly international at home to Switzerland. Northern Ireland boss Michael O'Neill has come out and said, "We're pleased to welcome Jamie into our squad. He is a player that we have been tracking for some time." Former Tottenham Hotspur boss Harry Redknapp has been talking about Ange Postecoglou and the situation at Spurs this season. He said, "I never finished 15th. I was always around the top four. They haven't performed. It has been a terrible season at Tottenham, but I like Ange Postecoglou, and if they win the Europa League, it will give him time next year to do better in the league and in other competitions. But if he doesn't win the Europa League, he will come under severe pressure. I don't want to see that happen." Now, my thoughts on everything in this episode. Let's start by talking about Mauricio Pochettino, talking about a possible return to Tottenham. Now, of course, Pochettino has come out before and said that he has got unfinished business at Spurs and he would like to return one day. I feel like the majority of the fan base feel the same on this, that they would love to see him return one day because he has unfinished business. I think a lot of us felt at the time that he had more than enough credit in the bank to keep his job, and a lot of us wanted to see Pochettino backed rather than being sacked. You know, not spending a penny in transfer windows, multiple transfer windows, I might add, in 518 days, taking us to a Champions League final. Of course, losing that final, very, very disappointing final, and then sacked, you know, just a couple of months later. It was a real shock to a lot of people. And then, of course, you know, a matter of hours later, Jose Mourinho was holding up that shirt. But would I like to see Mauricio Pochettino return to Spurs one day? Absolutely. I feel like he has unfinished business at the club. I feel like a lot of people would welcome him with open arms. Yes, there are a lot of people that say no. He didn't win anything at Spurs, etc., etc. And what I would also say as well, although I'd love to see him back, and although I expect to see him back in the future, it will certainly be a couple of years because... well, it may not even be that long. It could be after the 2026 World Cup, which isn't that far away, actually, because he's got to do his job with USA, obviously. But the only thing I would say is I do think there are a lot of people that think that Pochettino returns, he waves a magic wand, and suddenly Spurs are challenging for the Premier League title again, and we are playing super exciting football. That is only going to come if a manager is backed in transfer windows. He gets the players that he wants. You know, we have seen win-now managers come in Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, and they haven't been successful at the football club. I just want to see more ambition in transfer windows, if I'm completely honest, and see managers backed. You know, will it work out with Ange Postecoglou? Reports are stating that, you know, Daniel Levy has met with Postecoglou and said that the minimum requirement is Europe. I've always thought that the minimum requirement is Europe. Spurs are currently 14th in the Premier League table, and we only have the Europa League left to be successful this season. Of course, if you win the Europa League, you get into the Champions League. And you know, Ben Jacobs has stated there is still a desire to make it work with Postecoglou. I think the board have actually been very sympathetic towards Postecoglou this season, given the amount of injuries that we have had, and the review apparently is taking place at the end of the season. I just think that the club are just waiting to see what happens in the Europa League. But as I've said many times, and as I said on the Spurs Chat podcast on Sunday and on the fan show on Tuesday, you know, you just cannot keep losing games in the Premier League. 15 already this season. Out of, 29 matches, 9 matches to go. Chelsea away next. That's going to be a difficult game. It always is at Stamford Bridge, especially for us because of our very, very poor record. You know, you cannot keep losing games. So, All eyes on the Europa League this season. I think it is a shame because I think Spurs did actually have a chance of getting a European spot, a slim one, but we still had a chance. 9 games left now. It'll be interesting to see what happens from now until the end of the season. The players need to give more, in my opinion. Ange Postecoglou needs to go with the strongest possible 11 at Chelsea. He's given some of the players a couple of days off this week. 17 players on international duty, so let's hope that they all return, fresh and injury-free. Lucas Bergvall, whilst on international duty, he has spoken out about the amount of injuries that Spurs have had. He says it's an unfair season. It does seem unfair in a lot of ways, but other Premier League teams do have injuries, and teams just need to cope. And I just can't get past the fact that Ange Postecoglou made 7 changes at Fulham on Sunday. I was quite upset about that because it was a game, especially going into the international break. It's such a poor record. The last 6 international breaks we have gone into losing 6 out of 6. That is really, really disappointing. Harry Redknapp has been talking about Ange Postecoglou and the criticism that he's getting at the moment. He's come out and said, well, I never finished 15th. I was always around the top 4. When you look at previous managers, Conte got the sack when he was 4th. Pochettino got the sack when, only a couple of months before he took us to a Champions League final. Jose Mourinho got the sack 6 days before a cup final. Clearly they are giving him time. They are being patient with Ange Postecoglou. Yes, I get that this is a rebuild as well. But at the same time, you can't keep losing games in the manner and the fashion that we are. And you cannot have the manager keep coming out after every single game now saying, well, we weren't at the level that we should be and it's unacceptable, blah, blah, blah. You need to put things in action and you need to get results, in my opinion. It is a results-led business, football. And careers can be very, very short at football clubs when you don't get those results. So the results must improve. Ian Wright, it pains me to say, as a former Arsenal legend, Premier League player, Ian Wright, I completely agree with what he said. These are basic mistakes that Tottenham are doing. Is there about their defence? I feel like we give the ball away very easily and have done in recent games. Although Romero, and I've said this on a previous episode, Romero, I felt like we've seen a different version of Romero since his return, and him being given the captain's armband, he must really like and enjoy that as well. But Spurs should work on retaining the ball, keeping the ball and trying to get it up to Maddison and Solanke to make things happen. Completely agree with what Ian Wright said there. And Ian Wright also said they have so much going for them, which I agree, we do. We have a lot of great young players and, some real positives this season. It's not all doom and gloom. There has been positives this season. And Ian Wright said, I can't understand why they are so slack and sloppy in defence. This must stop. Completely agree with what Ian Wright said in every regard in his statement there. Great call up for Jamie Donley. Really pleased for him. What a player he is. One for the future. Can't wait to see him playing regularly in our first team. What other things have we got to go through? I think that covers it all. Of course, the Spurs women have lost their last 5 matches, 4 in the WSL, 1 in the FA Cup. Ellen Morris has come out and said, stick together and results must come. The Spurs women have been through a couple of spells like this. They face West Ham next at the weekend, so that is a must-win game in my opinion, because the Spurs women have gone through a couple of spells like that this season, and it must be very, very tough losing 5 on the trot. But Robert Villaham is a really good manager, and in my opinion, I feel like those transfer windows need to be better as well, because in order to catch those top 4 teams in the WSL, vast investment is needed to catch up with them, because every single transfer window and every single year, those teams are breaking away more and more and more from the rest of the teams in the WSL, including Spurs. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do that follow button and leave a review if you can. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you in the next one. Come on, you Spurs.